of things. But just to move forward, I'd like to hold this right here. And I would like to read off things first and then repeat it by doing the show. The title Cybergenetic Manipulation descends from the word cybernetic. And cybernetic is defined by the American Heritage Dictionary as theoretical study and control processes of electric, mechanical, and biological systems, especially mathematical analysis of the flow of information in such systems. My intent here today is to show that we humans are all three of these things, electrical, mechanical, and biological, and that our cells, atoms, and molecules, those are entities comprising our basic life functions, are all organized into mathematical, algorithmic behavioral patterns conforming to what are called cosmic synchronicities. Our atoms represent the electric, our molecules, the mechanics, and our cells, the biologic. Our set patterns of behavior forge electromagnetic neural pathways that become fixed templates that mold impressions and feelings from all subsequent thoughts and experiences, creating a catalog of conscious and subconscious responses. Many control systems that affect the brain and thus the behavior of individuals now exist as frequency disruptor systems suddenly placed in everyday household items, utensils, and appliances that interact with the human electrical, mechanical, and biological systems. They are sophisticated cybernetic weapons used to effect cybergenetic control over the human population using neural electromagnetic frequencies that result in mind control. By influencing the signal output, reorienting your architectural nature, your cybergenetic spiritual grid system, I mean that you can teach the DNA to mutate in a manner that best suits the direction of behavior desired by the Illuminati. There are ways to teach your genetics so that your genetics can be what you would believe to be inspired behavior. In other words, you communicate with your soul, and your soul communicates with the genetics. Genetics then send those signals out to become the behavioral patterns that you would most normally align yourself to. Now they have frequency patterns to disrupt you at the level where your DNA will begin to coordinate or reorganize specific amino acid buildups. In other words, amino acids are signal processors. You can agitate the DNA and the process of making specific amino acids, the templates where the amino acids touch upon certain areas of the DNA. You can influence the making of the amino acids. So once you influence the making of the amino acids through certain electrical signal outputs, you can influence a person's behavior. And that's how they're doing it, through the music. The ability to crank up or deflate behavioral responses in the American population was seen quite clearly when Bush effectively made himself Caesar and dictator absolute of the United States. Last month, effectively making Congress lords with a 21st century feudal system that was called the Military Commissions Act. Military Commissions Act was just signed. It gave him or the presidencies to follow complete Caesarship over everyone and everything in the United States, all business, all commerce, and that's what you are, business and commerce. Most of mainstream America are completely clueless of the fact that they are and always have been targets of experimentation and have no idea that they are influenced every day of their mundane lives by cerebral disruptor signals blanketing at times entire cities from remote locations. Most of us are unable to figure out whether or not any adverse psychological or physiological symptoms we experience have been created by non-malefic or non-poisonous or natural resources or malicious unnatural sources based in the shadow government. We have been effectively lulled into states of compliant, sub-responsive apathy by way of electromechanical, biopsychological weapons of mind control, emotional control, and genetic control. These highly sophisticated weapons are to forward the Illuminati's agenda dealing with the continuing colonization of thought. Now, we were going to speak later on about someone that I'm going to get into a little later. But as I go forward, just to give you a quick overview before we go to the videotape, so to speak. Presently, the NSA, or the National Security Council, has an electronic surveillance system that can monitor, follow, and affect millions of people individually and collectively. The mass media do not report that thought signals and subconscious thinking can be read by way of mapping algorithmic brain wave patterns through digitalization. Dreams can be affected and even induced, and all without the knowledge of the chip implanted individual or the microwave scanned individual. Also, that cyber soldiers exist, they do exist, and are now being deployed in Iraq as suicide drones. That this particular technology was around and used in certain NATO countries since 1980. Diminished blood circulation, as far as those who have chips in their head. You can tell the effects of the chips in their head by the diminished blood circulation and lack of oxygen occurring to the right temporal frontal lobes where the implants are usually placed. Right now, covert neurological communication systems are in place today to counteract independent thinking and to control social and political activity. This is controlled through the organizations dealing with the psychiatric arm of the pharmaceutical cartel and the shadow government. Implanting people has remained a state-guarded secret, high-level state-guarded secret, using psychiatry as a front to dismiss or explain away the behavioral symptoms and reactions of the victims who have been complaining. Psychiatry is not a true science. Psychiatry is simply following a pattern of template protocols, because those who are experimenting on the population know that people are going to react based upon their being chipped. So a whole, and we're going to get into that, a whole science has been placed to offset or to make you feel like you're crazy. Or if you were to go to somebody who's not down with the program, they already would go and say, okay, what are you suffering from? All right, let me go to my book and see what it is those symptoms mean. And because the symptoms have been set up in such a way by psychiatry, you will be thought of as being insane, or something's wrong with you psychologically that you need help and you need to be drugged. Victims of mind control experimentation are victimized a second time by being routinely diagnosed as mentally ill or by doctors who've studied their what is called, you'll see, Diagnostic Statistic Manual's symptoms list in med school. Scientific American magazine, we're going to speak about that, just to give you a quick overview. Oh, let me just give you this. I'll tell you about the information that they got, but all the information that you're about to receive, what did they do with the information after they studied how your brain works being manipulated? What did they do? Well, they put the capacity to manipulate you further into the newest TVs, the newest computer screens, the newest laptops, and of course, mobile phone technologies. Mobile phones used for the purpose of mind control was a perfect idea. Military and police agencies can follow any user, influence their thoughts through microwave modulation, cause healthy people to hear voices in their head, and if need be, fry their brains in a second by simply increasing the current 30,000 times. This was done by the CIA. This is how the CIA killed the Chechnyan general Dudayev, who died talking on his telephone. Thus, if someone like you or I, under government surveillance with modern technology by way of TV, radio, telephone, loudspeakers, lasers, microwaves, poisons with mind-controlled drugs via office viaducts, giving familiar smells to cause headaches, nausea, and so forth, if we claim our clothing is poisoned along with our food and tap water, all medical schools teach their students that you or I have paranoid, especially if we say the government's agencies are behind it. Beloved brothers and sisters, the ultimate goal of cybergenetic manipulation is to program each individual at his or her archetypal matrix of being, so as to coerce them into carrying out any act, even if it's against their moral will and self-preservation instincts, and to control the absolute behavior and thought patterns of the individual. The purpose of mind control today is to disrupt the collective archetypal memory of humankind, to disrupt the spiritual evolutionary potential of the collective one consciousness in man. Let me say that again. You have to understand there's a larger agenda, and Saturday, tomorrow, in Brooklyn, I'm going to be dropping the science of where, when, why, and who. How you are manipulated to the level that you are, and who are manipulating you, and why it is that we have not been, as humans, able to move to the next paradigm. Every generation that you see for the last 5,000 to 6,000 years has been stuck in war mode. We've been stuck in doing nothing but fighting one another, stuck in killing off one another, stuck in trying to get a job, trying to get food, we are still stuck in a mode that has not moved forward in the idiom of humanity. We as humans look the same. For the last how long? Maybe a couple of million years? What is holding us back from moving to the next species paradigm? What is beyond the human? They say death is beyond the human. No, it's not. What is the structure human? The human structure. What is this human structure after this whole paradigm has become perfected to the state that you can't do nothing else with it? Is this all there is? No. But the reason why you can't get to that stage or even imagine yourself beyond this shell is because of just what we're about to talk about. And this is just the first stage of the trilogy.